Good morning, DIYers. My name is Bill Strand. I'm one of the DIY Chameleon guys. And you say, guys, that means there's more than one. There is more than one. Mr. James Cross, how are you
And I'm
today?
James Cross, and I'm also one of the DIY guys and Chameleon guys, and we're going to have a good show today, I think.
Well, there was something very interesting going on where I saw on Etsy, actually, that there was a very cool Chameleon Feeder Run Cup. And you know what? I found out that the manufacturing method is not your standard 3D printing. Can you imagine
What?
that, James?
No, I can't. I wonder who that could be,
I
Bill.
wonder who that, and I wonder what that manufacturing method is. And there's only one way to find out. And
You
what's that,
think?
James?
I think we're going to have to go to the people.
We're gonna have to go to the people, and you know what? We've got the person here, Marsha. Welcome to the DIY Chameleon, guys.
Hey, Marsha.
Hey guys, hi James, hi Bill.
All right, so I want to first let's start with the beginning of the story. And could you please show us what it is you create?
Do you want to see the final product
The
now?
final product. All right, everybody, this is what we're looking at.
Well, it comes in different colors, but this is what I call evergreen. It's kind of transparent. I think you can kind of see light.
Yeah, we can see it all
through
right. So,
and there's a rough surface in the back. I print that on my 3D printer, actually.
oh, okay.
Awesome.
Okay, so there's a little of everything on here.
Okay. So this is a Chameleon Feeder Run Cup. And of course, everybody, you've seen a number of different variations on the Feeder Run Cup. It's a great tool for us in the Chameleon community. Now, this one is a little bit interesting. It's done differently. And so this is going to be an episode all about how you can do things that you didn't think of before. And Marsha Ann, how do you make these?
Well, to be right up front with you, I had never done anything like this before this. Okay. So I came up with this idea and thought, well, maybe I can make it out of resin or I don't know, buy something and manipulate it. Okay. And so I first started, well, originally I was looking at your little milk carton feeder. That's what I used to start with. And I didn't like having a piece of garbage in with my nice chameleon enclosure. So,
Which is fair.
Totally get that. Totally get that.
right. So I started designing, and I tell you what, it a lot of time and effort, and some money involved in it as well. Fortunately, I was in the right place, kind of right time to work on it. My work slows down in the winter months, so it gave me some time. But I initially took a piece and started putting clay on it and getting.
So is that PVC? Is that a piece of PVC pipe?
Part of it?
Okay.
There's you also see there's wood involved on the back, so it has a flat back end. And I just thought, well, if it's in the enclosure, it should sit flat against a wall. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So just establishing the baseline here, what Marsha Ann does is she has created a mold that she fills with resin. And so in this episode, we're going to show you how you could actually create a mold for a plastic part and then fill it with resin. And so you could create just anything that you can make. You can make a master of, you can create a mold of, and make resin parts. And so that's what we're going to do in this episode. Now, I've never done this before, so all the questions that I am asking Marsha Ann are, honest God, questions that I have because I want to figure out how to do this.
I totally agree. And what's cool about it is she's actually not a construction person, not somebody who does this, and she figured this out all on her own, and that's what makes this so interesting.
I watched a million YouTube videos. You can learn
YouTube's
anything on
magic.
YouTube. You can learn how to take care of chameleons if you follow
I've
chameleon.
seen a couple of those shows. I wonder where.
Okay. Well,
All right. So,
kind of
Marsha
the
Ann,
next thing.
yeah, lead us through from the beginning, getting the idea. How in the world do we get from an idea to a mold? And then we'll take care of what you do with the mold after that. But let's
Okay.
get to the mold.
Well, after you have a master, you can then create a mold. And there's different materials you can actually use for a mold.
Well, wait a
What I
minute. You're talking
finally,
about when you say a master,
Mhm.
what do I create a master out of?
well, the master I made out of the first mold attempt.
Okay.
And this is the master now. And you can see little spots where I fine tuned over the years. Uh, this little PVC fitting on there. That's actually works out to where I pour the resin in the mold. Okay.
Okay.
It's just been a huge learning process.
Well,
Uh,
do I have to carve it out of wood, or do I carve it out of PVC? You talked about putting clay
okay.
on it.
Well, so I mentioned I started with the clay piece.
Okay.
And then I took a piece of uh, 4-inch PVC tubing and put down over it.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's hollow around uh, around this fitting,
Okay.
around the piece, and then I basically poured the silicone in. And that was a big learning curve on its own as well, because there's different kinds of silicone and different strengths and what they call sureness, how hard, how firm it sets up, or how pliable it is.
Okay.
So I tried many a times, and I realized if I'm going to idea to mass produce these things ever, I can't be spending one day making each one of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
uh, I had poured that silicone around here, let it set up, and then after it's set, I was able to remove it from the mold. Um, with a lot of soapy water, I was able to pull it out. You know, silicone is very pliable.
But is
So,
this like the silicone I get at Home Depot?
yeah, I was wondering what kind of silicone is this?
Okay, I'm glad
What
you
sorcery
asked.
is this, Marsha Ann?
Okay, well, I like this is some
Two-part
resin
product.
I like,
Okay.
and you'll see up here it says 30A, and that's
Uh-huh.
the sureness, the strength, how firm it'll set up. And this set takes like 6 hours to fully cure. You have it says on here somewhere 40 minutes working time, I think.
So
And
you
then
mix those two together
A and
to
B,
create a reaction, correct?
yeah,
And how much time do you have before that stuff starts setting up?
with these you have about 40 minutes.
Okay. So you got a little time to play with it.
Right, right. And this here's a couple examples. This is 20 sureness. This is really soft.
And where do you find a product like that, Marsha?
Well, originally I was buying it at the local craft stores or
Okay.
Amazon. And now I have a supplier because I buy larger quantities. But
Okay.
um, Amazon's a great source for a lot of resin products. Um, maybe a little better buy if you shop around, but it's a good place to start.
All
So
right. So at
after
this point, I've created a master of the part that I want.
Well,
I am
we've created a silicone mold of
so
the
a negative, so the
original.
outside of it.
Okay, we did a silicone mold of the original concept. Okay,
Okay.
and then because your master, you want something that's going to last for the long term. And so this master, which I've had, I don't know, I guess a good year and a half, it'll probably last for eternity. It's made out of resin, pure resin, okay? And then, like I mentioned, I've made improvements over the years where I found maybe sharp areas. If it's too indented, it might cast too thin. So you fine tune it. I have another, well, you see the plug part right there. Well, literally today I made this. This is the rubber stopper that will go in the final mold. Okay.
Okay.
And I needed a new one, so it's like, well, we're doing the show. I may as well just make a new one. And the original mold, all I did was take a piece of that PVC plug, set it on the bottom, and pour in the silicone. That's all I did, and let the silicone set up. And then when I was done, I ended up with a nice little casting of a PVC plug. Except, see, I needed it made out of silicone. So you can't pour silicone on silicone or they'll glue themselves together. Okay. So wonderful Vaseline is a great product to prevent that from happening. And then I just pour another silicone in there, and 6 hours later, I now have a nice silicone plug for which will go in here, fit right down in there, which we'll get to shortly here. But then, once I had all those pieces, it was time to make the silicone mold.
Okay.
And this is making a good silicone mold is a lot of work. Let me just show you a small, like here's a little box here. Now, obviously, something this large needs a much larger box, but it needs to be like, some of the size needs to be 2 parts. So you want the silicone to be able to flow underneath the item. So it means you need to elevate it up 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. So this is suspended within a box.
Okay.
And then you're going to pour the silicone halfway up. And you can, using some math, you can calculate the volume and figure out how much silicone you need to make to fill half the box. And then you let that set up. And what you want to do.
So is the blue thing the box you're speaking of, or is that inside of the box?
Well, you actually, Well, these are some of the pieces from the box.
Okay, I get it.
You create a box around it.
That you can break apart, kind of like a concrete form. Same principle.
Exactly. Very good. Good analogy. And I'm hoping you can see these. There's little holes.
I see them.
Little holes all the way around the perimeter. Those
So
are
are
called,
those alignment pins? Are those for alignment pins?
yes, they're called keys.
Okay.
And that allows the two sides to go together and properly align.
Hmm.
Okay, which
I'm seeing
obviously,
some familiarity with what you're doing.
okay, good, yeah. And then the way it works, I also, where are they? Because I've been making. I had to make a couple of these earlier today. You know, it's the cha-chings
Right?
from Etsy come at odd times, right? So I like a hard backing. It prevents things from flexing the wrong direction. What I found uh, making these feeders, that if you're not careful, they can become more egg shaped versus round. You know,
Uh-huh.
and so having a nice sandwich. You see how that is? Sandwich.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Okay.
So that
And then,
keeps your silicone rigid is what that's doing.
hmm?
That's keeping your silicone mold rigid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I use some straps to
Velcro?
secure. Excuse me?
Velcro straps?
No. Where you tie down straps, cinch
I think
straps.
we lost her.
Oops.
We'll just hang
I'm
tight.
back. Okay.
Okay. She's back.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. We actually lost power earlier today.
Okay.
Cinch straps. And I usually put 4 on there.
Okay.
Okay. Then I put this in my machine.
Well, what machine is that,
Your
Marsha?
machine?
My machine.
What machine do you speak of?
I speak of this. This has been. Can you see it good and well enough there?
I can
Yeah,
see it. I don't understand what I'm looking at, but I
Okay.
see it.
looks like a machine's of. Oh no!
Oh, look at that. Now I can
It
see.
looks like
Okay.
something from the Matrix.
It is. It's what's called a Rotocaster machine.
Okay.
Okay.
And believe it or not, the large kayaks.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Okay, the plastic or molded kayaks.
Uh huh.
They're made the same way. It's just on a
Giant
larger
scale.
scale. And
I'm starting to understand what's going on here, Bill. How about you?
All right, good. That's why this is a team effort.
okay, so usually there's more straps on here, but I take this and I put it into the machine. And it might take too many turns here, but we get it level here. And then we're going to mix up the resin. And, through trial and error, you learn how much resin, everything's part A, part B again. And you have a little funnel here going into the mold. Are you able to see that from
Yeah,
there?
we
Yep.
can see it.
Okay. And mix A and B. And this is where you need to be ready.
You need to be ready.
You
How much time you got with this part, Marsha?
being here in the South and it's warm, resin can set quickly. And with the resin I use, you have 2.5 minutes to work with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you mix A and B, you pour it in here, you cap it, and you hit the switch.
Look at
Now,
that.
And that
rotate.
just makes sure it
Every
has uniform coverage.
That's right. It's not centrifugal force. It's going at a slow rate, so the material flows
Okay.
around the the mold.
Okay.
Okay, the inner surfaces of the mold, trying to evenly coat the inner surface of the mold.
So how do you know if you have enough resin inside of it? Is there a fill point? Is there an exterior drain at the other
Uh,
end?
it was trial and error, figuring out, how many ounces of A and B. Some resin is made by equal parts, okay, 1 to 1, but it might be one volume 1 to 1, or it might be weight 1 to 1, which can vary.
Yeah. So
So,
how do you know if you've got all of the air out of the inside of that mold?
okay, that's an excellent question because a normal mold.
We got James.
Yeah, that was a good question, James. Because on a normal mold,
I'm with you, Marsha. I think I could do this. I don't this isn't intimidating at all.
okay, the 24-hour type resins or 12-hour resins,
Uh-huh.
they, I have a vacuum chamber.
That's okay. Uh-huh.
Um, but for making these feeders, I don't use that type of resin. Okay.
Okay.
Here's another mold I had made. Uh, I had a item I was making. Okay, so
Okay.
you got
Okay.
mold,
Yep, makes sense.
and you see the little key marks on it,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully.
Yep.
And then I have a top. Well, you see the top? You see the holes?
I do.
Yeah.
That's where the air
Comes
gets,
out.
as it heats up, it vents out there.
Okay. So there's actual a heat reaction happening with this resin.
Oh, yeah.
So I bet
Just
that's creating heat.
because I had my temp gun out here today,
Uh-huh.
when I made a feeder this afternoon,
Uh-huh.
I decided to open it up and shoot it with the temp gun.
Uh-huh.
It was 142 degrees.
Oh,
Wow.
like James's garage.
Hey, be nice. I got the tank top on.
Shit, I don't blame you. So yeah, the fast setting resin, that after it goes in the machine for 10 to 15 minutes, it comes out with a different color one, but it comes out looking like this.
Okay.
Okay, and it's just this hard after 10 to 15 minutes. And as you see, it still has a face on it.
Uh-huh.
And then, using cutting tool, sanding this, I cut it all out, the face out, smooth the edges so there's no sharp edges,
Uh-huh.
So
and
is
drill.
that essentially hollow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the finished product, you see how it's hollow. And see, the nice part about it is, you see the shine on that inside?
Yeah, I sure
Yeah.
do.
And that's smooth.
Boy, them bugs can't climb that, huh?
Yeah, that is the smoothness inside this thing right now. Is
So
that nice shiny? And see, that was the big learning curve, designing this thing in the first place, was to get a really smooth interior that the feeders could not crawl up.
Oh, okay. I want to ask a couple questions here to help me understand what just happened. Uh, so we've got a mold, and that mold is just, it's the mold of the outside.
Correct.
And so when you're putting in the resin, is it that turning machine, the roto turning,
Ro-
that
Rotocaster.
rotocaster that makes the resin go to the outside
Right.
of the mold?
It's flowing around the outer edges, and it starts setting up in really about 2 minutes.
Okay. So the more resin you put in, the thicker your walls are. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, here's the
Almost.
problem. There's a bad if in there if you put too much resin. And remember, I said how I open and hit it with the temp gun and it's 142 degrees. Well, the thicker the resin, the hotter it gets.
Okay.
Okay? So if you're pouring too much resin in there, there's going to be some thick areas that are going to cure too fast.
Okay.
Okay, so you're actually going to end up with uneven
Thicknesses.
walls.
All right.
Okay, does that make sense there?
Yeah. Enough sense that I can understand what we're doing. Yeah, I'd have to think
And
more about how I'd actually put that in practice, but that's what doing it over and over gets you. So right now, so you've got this this thing comes out, and how do you cut open the front? Is that a
well,
Dremel tool?
the front I cut the front out with the oscillating multi-tool.
Okay.
Okay.
That is,
I do. Think I have one.
Bill. It's a power tool.
Okay.
Is it made by Dremel?
No, mine's a skill.
Okay, Skill's even another good set of them. Yep.
All
Okay,
right. All right. If it
glad to
was
hear
made
it.
by Ryobi, my wife would have one. But
Oh, there's a lot of Ryobi. I have Ryobi sanders here. Yeah, a couple of Ryobi sanders,
okay.
Ryobi drills. But I also use a Dremel, and
Okay.
I round all these corners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because when you cut them out, there's
Square.
square. So to nicify things, I round them out, and then I sand
The edges.
I sand these edges, so they're nice and flat and then smooth. Because right after you cut them, they're sharp.
Yeah.
Okay, and the long edges are it's long enough for me to get the sander in and smooth them down. But on these curved sides, uh, I have to use the Dremel
Okay.
to smooth that. And then I have another little um, electric sander, cordless sander on a small scale, little small detail sander that I go over everything again. Um,
So the original
and
product when it comes out is not even close to being complete. You've got to actually physically go in there and cut out the edges, and so there's a lot of handwork involved in this too.
Well, yes and no. It's one of those things. I bet Bill can put together one of his Dragon Strand enclosures rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Uh, yeah, because he's done it several
Yeah.
times.
Right.
I can finish one of these in about 12 minutes.
nice.
Okay,
Okay. So basically, you're saying you're a machine.
yes.
You go, girl.
But
All
yeah,
right.
I
So
spend a few minutes taking part A, part B of the resin, adding some dye, stirring it up, pouring it in the thing, and then hitting the switch on the Rotocaster. And I have that going for 15 minutes. Well, if I want, now I'm not a mass production. This is a side hustle for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a side gig. Uh, it pays to take care of my chameleons, all my animals, maybe some vacation, out to dinner money. So,
Beautiful.
I'm not looking to get rich or anything. I'm not looking to go on Shark Tank.
And I get that. That's what it's all about. It's you're having fun doing it. It's part of what you do. You created this thing from nothing. It's different. Nobody else has one, and they look really cool. So what the heck?
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. Even the finishing details have changed over. I guess I can now say years, but uh, the backing, like I said, I print those on the 3D printer. The little hanging D-ring is riveted on. Uh, Drain holes are smaller now so that the small worms won't crawl out.
So how do you attach the backing that you print in the 3D printer? How do you attach that to the back?
I use Gorilla heavy duty double sided clear tape.
Okay.
And it's waterproof and all that. It's like 1 inch wide. And I'll just stretch that out. It goes the full length of the back. And so that prevents the bugs from crawling back behind the strip. That used to be a problem in the past when, you use something on the bottom and the top, maybe in the middle to tack things down. Well, now it's the full length. It added. I mean, you're in the marketing and all that. It added a few more cents to the cost, but it was well worth it.
Okay. How did you make the drainage holes?
The drainage holes. Now, see, if you look at the bottom of this master, you see the holes in there.
Uh-huh.
So let me see if I can get this thing out of here for you. It's one of those things that spins and spins and wherever it goes, nobody knows where it's going to stop. Okay, so down on the bottom here, when I poured my silicone mold, okay, you can see little pins down
I
there.
can.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens when it comes out of that mold after casting, it now has
Dimples.
dimples, and I just grabbed the wrong one. Here we go. I'm back.
Uh-huh.
Grab my jelly.
There's Bill's favorite tool.
Yeah.
That's my wife's favorite tool. I'm just arm candy.
Yeah. Just like that.
All right.
Only takes a second. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I drill a couple also for the rivets for the D-ring. So that just takes a few seconds. I have a fiber little, I don't know if you want to call it a grinding wheel, that the flashing of the plastic from the mold, there's always some. You can probably see some of the rough edges on it, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I take that off, drill the holes, cut it out, round the corners, smooth the edges, and and then I rivet the back on and go inside, wash it with Dawn dish soap, and
Okay.
put the little rough back piece on and pack it up for shipping. I make them per. I don't stockpile them. I just make them per order as a
Okay.
general. Now and then, I might have one extra around or something, but um,
All right. So the obvious question is you've got a 3D printer behind you. Why
I
would you do this instead of 3D printing it? What are the pros and cons
well,
of doing that this way?
yeah, it's something I tried to do, um, and there are some quality 3D resin printers out there now, but we're talking industrial,
Yeah.
and well, they're talking industrial. I'm talking my garage.
Mhm.
Okay, so um, the plastic 3D resins, they just don't give you that nice smooth edge that we're after for the inside. I tried making things out of PVC and all, and PVC can be scratched easily, and then once it gets scratched, it's amazing what bugs can crawl up the finest scratches.
This is true. So,
Not to say some of those real hoppy grasshoppers or crickets can't hop out, but most of them don't give it much thought and they just hang around in there.
okay.
Especially if your chameleon's hungry, you're probably not overfeeding them anyway. And it,
Ready to go. All right, so let's do a general analysis here. Say somebody's out there and says, I want to make a certain something, and they have to make a decision between 3D printing and making a resin mold. What would be some considerations that they should take into account to try to make that decision?
one is time. 3D printing requires a great deal of time for, especially the more detail it is. Uh, Something like this, if it was just a smooth cylinder with the openings, um, that I can print this on this 3D printer. I could design it on Tinkercad and print it on this. I'm thinking no problem, but you're going to have a lot of the supports that you have with 3D printing,
Mm-hmm.
and those are going to leave that uh, a little slightly rougher surface. 3D printing it's layers of plastic, and those layers, as perfect as you want them to be, are not perfect as a general rule.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to try to get up inside an area to smooth it out, to sand it. I don't know. Maybe there are some tools out there that I'm unaware of.
Oh, I've worked with sanding 3D printing, and it kind of can be done, but my goodness, how much time did that take? And I haven't gotten to the point where I'm happy with my work yet. So if somebody else
Right.
is better at it, maybe, but yeah,
You
it
know,
takes a
I,
lot.
I print well, I print the fogger connection that,
Mm-hmm.
um, for one of the other members, I printed
Oh, that's
uh,
right.
pieces that join the two enclosures. Uh, that was tough. That was tough because my bed is 250 by 250, and they needed about 260 by 260.
Oh no.
So I had to go in and figure out how to make all these pieces
Yeah, you need a diagonal, a couple of them.
I did exactly. So, but I did it. I was able to do it. But that project was extremely time consuming.
Yes, yes.
Um, so that's why I don't do that. The little backing strips for here, I can lay out. I don't know if it's 5 or 6 on the 3D printer, and I'll just print it, peel it off, hit reprint, and go do something else for a little while, and have a supply of them.
All right. So from start to finish, how long does it take you to make one?
Well, if I just sit down to do it, um, I can make 4 an hour.
For an hour. Wow.
That's
Yeah.
productive.
Yeah. To be able to 3D print something like that is easily,
Yeah.
I'm guessing 24 hours.
Yeah.
Well, remember the caster is taking, it's going 15 minutes. Well, while that's 15 minutes is happening,
I
I can finish off the other one, the one that came off before that one.
Okay.
I think I average around 12 minutes.
Okay. So how we went over the steps to do this. How hard is it to make it work to actually get a quality product? If someone like me said, you know what, I want to do this, I'm going to make me a mold, and I watch this YouTube video 10 times and then watch a couple of other YouTube videos, how hard would it be for me to actually create something that I would say, you know what, this is pretty cool, and not, wow, this is a disaster, why did I spend 5 hours putting this?
Yeah, exactly, because I was wondering if this was even going to work. I reached the point, originally trying to design it, uh, and somehow or another, I discovered the rotocasting, and that the bells went off and things started jiving how I could do this. But initially, I started call it designing in uh, probably 1st of October, I don't know, 22 or something like that, and it was January 3rd. I thought I had something that was marketable. Okay. So that was 3 months. And I would say during that 3 months, I probably put at least 100 hours minimum
All right, that
to it.
that is an enormous dedication to that. What was the motivation that kept you going to where you saw this to the end?
Remember, I think I mentioned to you somewhere, I'm a reverse engineer. And, I can see something and say, okay, I can maybe do that. And so before I start a project, any project, whether it's my chicken coop outside or the chameleon's enclosures, I need to be able to visualize
Hmm.
the finished product. There probably gonna be changes along the way, but I know what the finished product is gonna be. And so the motivation was I was, always so close, so close. I just need to fine tune this, and then, like I mentioned, discovering the Rotocaster, it it answered so many questions for me because it gave me that nice smooth interior that, I can't tell you how many hours let's see, I have any within reach right here. Here's some polishing compound I used on prior attempts, okay, and trying. This is what you use to finish a car, the final coat on car paint jobs and what have you, and just trying everything. And it's like that's just too much work. I can't put this much time into it to be able to sell something at an affordable price. But it's a fun hobby because you can just grab something, almost anything. I had mentioned to you about Stephanie's topper.
Yeah.
That's something in the construction business they often do. In restorations, that they'll take something like that topper. They only have one, but they need, say, 6 of them, and they're going to make a mold of it and then just cast them. So,
Okay.
there's that where you want multiple numbers, but if you just need one item, uh, there's this. It's alginate. This is called mold.
And this stuff's all got at your regular craft shop too. You can do this at a craft shop.
I believe Hobby Lobby.
Okay.
And this is kind of neat stuff, but it's only good once. And but you're basically, and how I said the resin, you have 2.5 minutes to work with, 2 minutes, 2.5. You have 1 minute.
Oh, okay. That worked fast.
So you need to get ready. So, you have whatever the container that's going to hold the object, and you've already calculated how much of the stuff you're going to need, and you set your item down in there, mix up enough of this, and it's specific instructions, how much water and how long, and then you pour it over it and shoot. And in an hour, you could be pouring resin in there or pour silicone in there. That's a good way to do it. Make a resin mold and paint it with the silicone, and then if you want multiples.
Okay.
So, it's kind of a fun hobby. Every now and then, I have an idea, and between the resins and the 3D printer and wood, I leave that to Jen. Well, I have my fogger system.
Awesome.
And I have my RO that's now automatically with automatic shut off on the reservoir.
Life is good.
We have to have that stuff.
Yep.
That's sort of like this feeder. It's. I always kind of wonder. There can't be that many people that need. There's not that many chameleons out there.
Yeah.
And I'm in South Georgia, and there's a number of them around, but there's far more people down in Florida. And you know what? Guess where I send most of these to?
Where?
California.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
I'd say for every 10 of these, I maybe sell probably 6 or 7 go to California.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. We're the chameleon state.
We are.
Well, I appreciate it. I just like on your side, I don't try to promote. I hadn't brought it up or anything. I appreciate the opportunity to show off my product. That's very kind, generous of you. But I respect, just like on Facebook, I don't want to be like advertising on everybody's site. I like the referrals and things like that. But
Yeah, well, what I really like about your product, first of all, is the way you made it. That is
Yeah.
unique, and I love that. But I also saw that that was a a very creative way to take care of the need for a smooth inside, and that, it's very difficult to create a smooth inside that
Exactly.
that they're not going to run up, because bugs are really good at that.
I tell
So
you what, the first time I cut into one and saw that in the side, I don't think I had the right amount of resin on that one, but there was still enough to see how smooth it would come out. And it's like a tabletop
yeah,
glass smooth.
You know what I
And
liked? I liked the fact that she took something that she had no idea what she was doing. She figured out way out how to do it,
doing it.
and then she implemented her plan. Spent some time figuring out, and then she just built it.
She just built it. Oh my goodness! What's this world coming to?
Huh?
yeah,
Everybody just builds it. Oh, well, Marsha Ann, if somebody was interested in checking out your product, where would they go?
well, I just send everyone to Etsy, but let's see.
We went
One of
on
these,
Etsy. What
one
would
of
be
these might show it well. It's Neymar's Naymars dot Etsy etsy.com.
Neymars? Okay, we're gonna
And
put that up on the
my wife
screen.
is Renee, so Nay, and Mars is for Marsha, so
Ah,
Neymar.
I like that.
So that's where that came from.
All right. Well, in that
Or
case,
if you Google it, but try not to Google it. Go. No wonder Google's a wealthy company.
Yeah.
all right. So, if anybody's interested in making your own resin product, well, then you can watch this show a couple of times to extract out all of the information. And if you're interested in taking a look at a resin chameleon feeder run cup, go to Neymars. Uh, it's Neymars on Etsy. So, if I go to Etsy, I
Yeah, if
just
you go to Etsy and put in Neymars or cricket feeder, chameleon feeder, cricket run, a
oh,
lot
there
of
it
that.
is. Neymar's Lizard Alley Cricket Feeder. There we go. All right.
Awesome.
All right. Well, then, Marsha Ann, I want to thank you so very much for joining us and sharing what you have done. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thanks.
I,
Thanks for taking the time and coming on and doing a show for us. We really appreciate it.
I really appreciate the opportunity. You guys are like my heroes. Back in the day, you know, growing up is something else, but in this day and age, my babies, my animals are my life. They're part of my family, and you guys have done so much to help take care of them.
Awesome.
Well, we are glad to have you as part of our chameleon family. This is a wonderful group that we have.
Well, thank you again.
All right, everybody. James, I mean, you gave a little bit of advice. You want to just really drive it home?
Get out there and build it.
Excellent. All right, goodbye, everybody.